The following program will never judge you. We know that you almost certainly do some pretty stupid things. Maybe you tap the lit elevator button so that the elevator knows that now you are ready for it to come, and you mean business. Perhaps you smack your remote control to get that sucker to work. Or even if you pack so many sets of underwear for a 3-day trip that you seem ridiculously worried you will go code brown worse than any human in history. Whatever your deal, it ain't our business. We don't judge. So hit subscribe and smash that like button like they're a defective iPad. The following program is about to begin. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Fire Program. I am your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. Hope you all had a phenomenal Thursday today. As we know, it's the summer, and that means Thursday is the last day of the week. So I hope your week closed out really well. Even in the East Coast here, we say Thursday. No, that's the end of the week. That's a tradition that's been going on all the way back to my parents' at least 20 years now. At least 20 years now. Thursday night is a party night in New York City. And that's because everyone says the week is over, especially in the summer. Especially in the summer. In the winter, it's like, all right, is it really helpful? Is it really helpful that it's a weekend? But it's still summer. At least by all yardsticks until Labor Day. And perhaps even beyond. So, what do we got tonight? Well, initially, I was literally just going to do half the show that I'm doing tonight. I was just going to cover the Kamala CNN thing. I made the whole, thumbnail. That takes work, all right? Don't mock what I do for a living. It's work, okay? It's work. I don't need to hear. I do the whole thumbnail. And then I had to condense that over. Throw in, oh yeah, I guess we should really cover Trump. We should really cover Trump at a town hall meeting. Town hall meeting used to be a big deal. I guess in this age where you only have one candidate that's willing to talk to the public at all, live, that's still a big deal. And when that wasn't good. When he's being interviewed by a former member of the DNC who's stepped over into the light in Tulsi Gabbard, stepped into the light. Well, I guess that makes it even a little bigger deal. Now, initially I was going to be doing a fact check of Kamala Harris. Which I was like, there's going to be a lot of crap fact. That's not facts. That's not facts. And I wanted to do a fact check of her. And then I realized when I'm doing Trump, I was like, I should do a fact check of him too. You should know, things are being, but there's no benefit to being lied to from one side of the aisle and the other. Let's get to the truth. Let's get to the bottom of it. So, in the time-honored tradition of CNN, Politico, and Mythbusters, here comes Good Lawgic with his own variant of fact-checking. I haven't gone through the questions yet, so I'm going to have to be doing some serious friggin' digging when we get to any sort of genuine nuggets that seem like they may not be true, maybe a little exaggeration, and we're gonna actually look it up and do a quick little, and check out and see, is it true, is it not true? And maybe we'll get from both sides of the aisle as to whether or not they think it's true or not true. That's the plan. That's the game plan. Does that work for you, Cable? Does that work for you? Love you, Joe, but I think you boom your mic. It's facing in and out like it's the wrong mic. What? My sound can't be compromised. It can't be It is compromised. Let me see how that works. Is that that's good. Let's try this. No. Oh my God, no. All right, this one. I'm losing my patience. Come on. Okay. I think that's clearer. It just sounds lower. Turn. Doesn't sound good. This doesn't sound good. Okay. I'm realizing part of the problem here might be my wire. I still don't like it. You're saying it sounds good. I don't like it. Oh. I think this is as good as I'm going to be able to get it. Yeah, it's definitely coming through the mic. All right. Here we go. Let's get. Appreciate you calling that to my attention. And I also really appreciate. I especially really appreciate you hit me up. Hit me up. 5 good Lawgic memberships courtesy of K-Val. You the man. Who did you hit me up with? Who'd you bring on in? Fine, people need to owe a debt of gratitude to K-Val. Specifically, we're talking about David Noble. David Noble brought into the following. Vanessa Stuller brought into the following. Vanessa, I'm not the leader of the following. Okay? I'm telling you, Vanessa. All right? Stop walking around. I heard all these reports about Vanessa saying, oh, yeah, Joe's the leader. No, Joe is not. Not the leader of the following. Same goes for you, Kathleen Menges. All right? The following is not at all a type of cult, Kathleen. J.H. Schwalbach gifted a membership from K-Val. He might think, maybe they have all this Kool-Aid. No, there's no Kool-Aid. There's no sacrifices. Lisa Faltersack, she knows that. She knows there's no throwing virgins into volcanoes. It's not at all. There's no dancing around bonfire. It's not at all a type of cult. So thank you so much for gifting K-Val. You're awesome. And look who else. Look what else we got going on here. It's not just K-Val. K-Val's like, people are like, the people are like, I don't know, what are you just not? It's not just about K-Val also. Big Wiggle coming on in here with another 5 good Lawgic memberships. That sounds loud in my ears. I don't know if it sounds loud in yours, but it sounds. Mark Pugner, Papa Z, Marlene Stewart, and Tammy Fayette all gifted memberships courtesy of Big Wiggle. Welcome to the following, you guys. Please express your gratitude. That's part of what the following is about. The following is recognition. It's personal growth. And personal growth comes through gratitude towards others. I know some of you think that, Joe's doing some shit. No, I actually really mean this. I really genuinely mean that. I'm gonna just make this point to you. I once heard a long lecture that claimed that the reason God created the world was so that man would learn gratitude. Man would learn gratitude. So it's a massive teaching here in the following, the importance of expressing gratitude. So please thank Big Wiggle for that. And while we're expressing our gratitude to people who are very generous, Catherine K hitting up with 5 good Lawgic memberships. Who'd you hit up here? Who we got here? Courtesy of Catherine. Scott Cohen, Shannon Stewart, Noel West,
Mishi Habes. I think Mishi Habes. Yeah, I'm going Mishi Habes. That's what I'm doing it. And Margot Eichenlaub. It probably was originally Eichenlaub. You probably call yourself Eichenlaub. That's just the way it is. And then you're going to say, who are you to tell me what my name is pronounced? I don't know. I'm really not anyone. I'm just speculating that the name probably was originally, maybe, when it was your ancestors going back like generations and stuff like that. This is just insight and perspective. It's the sort of thing you get here at the following. Not that I'm the leader, because I'm very much not the leader of the following. I'm just speculating that it's possible. Very possible. Very possible. This is what they tell you not to do when you run a channel, is to like risk alienating someone who just joined as a member. You're not supposed to do that. It's like rule 1 in the YouTube training manual, which there is a YouTube training manual that then it's all these different guidelines. This is what you don't do. Today I had a meeting with my YouTube manager, and I'm not even making this part up. I had a meeting with him, and he was telling me I had to do something. Do something for your members, for the love of God. They're joining your channel. Why don't you just do something? Do something, Joe. Do. And I was like, well, I already have that. If you become a high priest, I'll give you like a 10-minute. I think it's a 10-minute members, 10-minute one-on-one with me. If you're a high priest, that's $100. So I'm like, I'll give you 10 minutes. I'll chat you up for 10 minutes. We'll schedule something. I'll hook you up. High Priest is a little bit pricier. Obviously, the $5 a month membership, it's $100 a month. But I was like, yeah, okay, you know what? I will sit with you. And then I started thinking to myself, oh my God, if people actually really started actually asking, I would probably be dreading that. I'd be like, oh God, no. Oh God, no. Why did I do this? Why did I do this? Why did I do that? I don't know what I was thinking. That was crazy. I was went out late one night with Nick. We got drunk and we were hanging out. And the next thing I know, I'm just offering, oh yeah, I'll spend 10 minutes. And then I actually have to deliver that. Oh my God. And it's not that I mind talking to people. I actually kind of like it once I get there. I just don't like having to set up chats and times and organizing. I need to fly by the seat of my, let's get into the show. I'm doing this for too long. Anyway, it is out there. Good evening. Love the early stream. Audio is much better, but not all there quite yet. That's what people say about me all the time. Much better, but not all there quite yet. I got you. You probably too big, Wiggle. I thank you for gifting. You're awesome. We need emote Supreme Leader. You figure it out, John. Figure it out. I've tried. Okay, I've literally tried, and everything I put in there, I make the 1:1 ratio. No, they're like, why can't you do it right, Joe? They mock me. They mock me when I try uploading them. Send me something that you say this will work, and I'll try uploading it, okay? I mean, as long as it's, remotely related to the show, I'll do it. Hey, Tammy, new member. Hey, Tammy, good to see you. All right, let's get in. Let's get in on it. We're going to start with Trump, and we are going to be fact-checking. We're going to be fact-checking Trump here first. If my audio fades out, it means my wire moved, which is not good. Because apparently this new wire I got a couple months ago is flawed. But let's get moving. All right. Here we go. Whoa. What was that? Donald, oh, wherefore art thou? Donald! Refresh you. That buzzing sound is not me. I hear it also. The perilous fight, or the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night
lake was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
No, wow. I gotta say, I'm just gonna say this. She obviously tried picking up a key there in an unusual place. Very pretty voice. Very pretty, very, very talented young woman. Very, very, very pretty voice. That's bravery when you try like take it in a slightly different direction, and she made it her own. But here's another. But putting the artist aside, there. You ever see that at a Democrat event? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Doesn't really
please
work if I
welcome to
stand
the
up.
stage four-term Congresswoman from Hawaii's 2nd District and Lieutenant Colonel in the United States Army Reserve, Tulsi Gabbard.
See, that's how they mess me up when they do stuff like that. Because then all of a sudden I get, when they do that, all of a sudden I get notifications that no one can watch my video.
Thank you for your patience. It's worth the wait, right? What a special week to be here to join all of you. A few things have happened. Not sure if you caught it in the news. 2 former Democratic presidential candidates have endorsed Donald J. Trump to be president of the United States. You might have heard of a guy named Bobby Kennedy Jr. And I was really proud to stand with President Trump just this past Monday to announce my endorsement and support for him in front of thousands of my National Guard soldiers and airmen, fellow soldiers and airmen. Because I am so excited about the opportunity that we have before us to stand together, not as Democrats and Republicans, but as proud Americans who love this great country. There's a lot of work to be done. The stakes could not be higher than they are right now. President Trump is going to talk about, and we'll have a conversation about why these stakes are so high and how he and he alone is the candidate to lead us toward that path of peace, prosperity, and freedom.
It is a very significant thing, by the way. How often, I hadn't really thought about it. It's significant in a couple of ways that she and RFK jumped to the Republicans. There's always some people from each party who are going to jump over to the other side. That's inevitable. That happens all the time. It happens all the time. But when it's someone jumping who's a former presidential candidate, Adam Kinzinger jumping over to the Democrats. Yay. Who the hell is he? He's like a nobody. Liz Cheney, nobody. These are people who didn't just run. They ran for president as the potential Democratic nominee. They ran for president of the United States as the potential Democratic nominee. And the reason that they jumped over is a very interesting thing. Political pundits seem to be recognizing the significant rise of populism, looking about the people's interest, calling it corporate crap. So much so that they say Kamala is trying to mirror that now and capture that. Well, the 2 people who jumped ship over here are 2 populists. And they're like, this is not about, they're calling out the corporatism of the Democrats. Democrats cannot get, which their entire mantra was the Republicans are all about helping out corporations, and they're steadily being exposed by their own as being ridiculously corporatists, ridiculously concerned about these multinational corporations. So Kamala's efforts to try and say, you know, like, I'm all about the people, and we see it in a myriad of different ways when all of a sudden she starts making up this garbage that she worked at McDonald's. Like there's any rich girl who ever worked at McDonald's. That's just not the way reality is. She was a rich girl, but she doesn't like that she was a rich girl because she knows that she'll look much better if she shows that she really earned it. But everyone knows she didn't. So she's a rich girl who never worked at McDonald's, had the audacity to claim it, and now it's being exposed. That's crap. It's a McLie. It's a McStolen valor. Not the same type of stolen valor as you have with the military or servicemen and women, but it's type of stolen valor where it's the valor of actually earning your way, earning your keep. So, yeah, that's her deal. How do I repurchase a membership? Mine expired. I can't find a link or a join button to do so. Please help. Every time I try looking for it, it takes me like 10 minutes to find it. I will try to help you, though. I will try to help you. I don't expect to get all the way through both of these in 3 hours, in 2.5 hours. I don't expect that to happen, which is why I do expect that I'm probably going to have to go in and cover. I'm probably going to go into locals after I finish up over here. I'm going to see if I can dig that up for you, Brown Eyed Girl. And thank you for asking. It's very thoughtful.
Join me in welcoming the next president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump.
That's not going to work. Can't have that. Can't have that. I know those song owners. They'll hit me. They will hit me. They have hit me. They're very greedy little. They're good. I think part of the reason they actually do this is so they can hit people. I think the reason they gave him license to do it. I wish we'd take a different song than that one. Because, yeah, let's move along here. Let's move through the crowd. We don't need to. Yeah, I know those folks. All right. Very blurry, isn't it? It's either very blurry or my eyes are bad.
Thank you. USA. USA.
USA.
Get back. Because our country's not feeling so well nowadays. And we're going to bring it back and we're going to make it healthy and beautiful and better than ever. And it's really, this is some crowd, and you can duplicate the crowd outside. So if anybody would like to give up your seat, that would be okay. No. Let's have a good time. Thank you very much, everybody.
That song gets me fired up every
It's so
time.
great. Lee Greenwood is so great. Great guy, too.
Maybe,
Well, thank you,
but
Mr. President.
Thank
This
you.
is,
very ticky
very
tacky.
special evening for us all to have a conversation about some of the real issues that are facing Americans across the country and that don't get talked about often enough. And I want to start with one that's very personal to me, hard to talk about sometimes. This is only the second time I've spoken about it publicly, but my husband and I were married almost 10 years ago. We wanted to start a family. We were very excited about it. Unfortunately, it was very difficult. We were not successful in trying to get pregnant. For us, IVF seemed to be the only option and the last resort. As you know, it's a pretty difficult process. It's very, very expensive. I was in Congress at the time, traveling. I would carry the medicine that I had to administer shots to myself sometimes in an airport bathroom. And And ultimately, the most difficult part was every time going to the doctor for another transfer and hoping that it would result in a positive pregnancy test, and then being heartbroken over and over every time that test came back negative. Now, I know some of your opponents, your political opponents, are saying that you want to ban IVF. While it didn't work for us,
I want to see if I can get a better picture because this is, and also the audio. I'm not really like. I'm going to see if I can get a better one of these. Let me see if I can find a better version because this is. I'm getting a little annoyed here. Trump. I don't like this version.
Time. Thank you very much, everybody.
traveling, I would carry
This is so
the
bad.
medicine that I had to administer.
Why are they all so bad? This looks much better.
Well, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank
this
you.
is a
That's
very
much better.
special evening for us all to have a conversation about some of the real issues that are facing Americans across the country and that don't get talked about often enough. And I want to start with one that's very personal to me, hard to talk about sometimes. This is only the second time I've spoken about it publicly, but my husband and I were married almost 10 years ago. We wanted to start a family. We were very excited about it. Unfortunately, it was very difficult. We were not successful in trying to get pregnant. For us, IVF seemed to be the only option.
I never heard this about her. I did not know this.
As you know, it's a pretty difficult process. It's very, very expensive. I was in Congress at the time, traveling. I would carry the medicine that I had to administer shots to myself sometimes in an airport bathroom. And ultimately, the most difficult part was every time going to the doctor for another transfer and hoping that it would result in a positive pregnancy test, and then being heartbroken over and over every time that test came back negative. Now, I know some of your opponents, your political opponents, are saying that you want to ban IVF. While it didn't work for us, it's worked for a lot of families. And I just know that there are women and couples in this crowd, or those who are watching here tonight.
I gotta pause and say I don't understand what the problem is with IVF. Like I don't understand who's. To me, this is like people against IVF, and I would love it if someone could explain it to me why this is even a topic. To me, it's like, why would you? That's like saying like are you in support of aspirin? Are you in support? Do you support aspirin? Do you support aspirin? Like, why? Who's against aspirin? What is is there an argument? Is there an argument against IVF that some people make? Like, is that like a controversial thing to say I'm pro IVF? Maybe someone explain it to me. The problem is that it happens to leftover embryos. So in vitro fertilization, is that what it is? So is it that some Catholics or is it like a religious thing? The theory is that IVF isn't pro-life because some of the fertilized eggs won't be used or implanted, so babies die. See, okay. All right. I guess then some are not going to be implanted. It's a fertilized egg. Okay. I thought it was a pro-life issue. I just wasn't sure how does this become like a pro-life issue? Because it does seem pretty extremist to say a fertilized egg, which didn't spend 10 minutes in a body, that's life. You also don't get it. It feels like a manufactured issue. Catholics are against IVF because unused eggs are thrown away or used in experiment. You see, I don't understand. Okay, so an unused egg, literally every woman who's not pregnant throws away an unused egg every 29 and a half days. Like, I don't understand. Like, you want to tell me a fertilized egg has more sanctity to it or something of that nature? Okay. I guess some people would have a religious thing against it. It's not, to my knowledge, it's not something I've ever asked before. I've never heard of any Torah concept. It sounds like the sort of thing like you sort of would need to like ask a rabbi. Like, this is if the situation happened with like an Orthodox Jewish couple, it's the sort of thing which like they would ask a rabbi, but like invariably the rabbi would say, "Go ahead." That's how it feels like. This one of those types of issues where it's like you sort of want to get the approval, but it's like there would be none of them if not for the fact that they're having an effort. This is what I don't understand about it. None of these eggs would be fertilized if not for the fact that they are actively trying to put more humans in the world. So we have two alternatives: do nothing, or try to add humans to the world. And the way we try to add humans to the world is by having egg fertilization through IVF. I don't understand a perspective that God's like, oh yeah, let's not have more people in the world. I'm not saying that in a derisive sort of way. I'm just saying philosophically, I don't really understand it. Fertilized eggs was left out of that comment. Regardless, it's splitting hairs. Okay.
Who may be going through this same struggle and are concerned about being able to have this option, either because they might not be able to afford it or they're concerned that it just may not be available. And I'd love for you to talk to them about how they should feel.
Well, thank you very much, Tulsi. And I didn't know about your situation.
Okay.
And it's tough stuff, right? Tough. Life is pretty tough. It can be beautiful, but it can be difficult. We are doing something with IVF because IVF, as you know, from friends, people you know, it's really worked out very well for a lot of people. It gave them a child when they would not have had a child. And I told my people I wanted to look at this a couple of weeks ago.
And philosophically, by the way, to me, yeah. I mean, think of how many eggs go to waste. Every woman has eggs go to waste. And every time a man ejaculates, 97% of the seed ends up not doing very much. 99.99% of the seed ends up not doing very much. So, yeah, that's it. That is how God designed it. But I mean, look, I'm obviously not a religious authority about Christianity, Catholicism, but I'm sort of baffled by it.
We have no taxes on a thing called tips. You know that? And I said, tell me, we did three things. We did that, and we did no tax to seniors on Social Security benefits. We want to have that. And I've been seeing a lot of IVF, and I kept hearing that I'm against it, and I'm actually very much for it. In fact, in Alabama, where the judge ruled against it, and I countered the judge and came out with a very strong statement for it. And the Alabama...
You're very quick in your response to that.
I was, but they were too. They were amazing. The legislature approved virtually my statement. I'm in full IVF, and it has really gone. It's terrific. And I said, so with the tips and with the Social Security, the no taxes on Social Security, I said, maybe for IVF, and I've been looking at it, and what we're going to do is for people that are using IVF, which is fertilization, the government is going to pay for it, or we're going to get or mandate your insurance company to pay for it, which is going to be great. We're going to do that.
Okay, so he's saying we're going to have that be covered by your insurance. Okay, I'm not sure he legally can do that. I have legal questions about that. Like, I don't really understand. I mean, I guess technically if Obamacare is a federal type of thing, now that it's been federalized, which was unto itself an asinine decision from the Supreme Court allowing Obamacare. So now, I guess they can set federal regulations that under Obamacare you have to provide it for IVF. That's not the question. Then becomes, to be fair, what does that do to your insurance rates? Because if this is an added expense, and Tulsi is testifying basically that this is an added expense, I mean, not testifying, but she's giving her personal experience that it is very expensive. Well, that ends up becoming a cost that we all end up eating. People can share and say, yay, but it's like, all right. So I'm forced to get insurance under Obamacare, and now that insurance gets jacked up because of IVF. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it shouldn't be covered. I'm just saying, okay. I mean, it's a change. It is a change that, people are unlikely to be thinking about the impact that change can have on them personally. They just think about the woman who's looking to get IVF, and they're not thinking about like what's going to happen to their bills 3 years from now. Something always gets put through and processed and then applied, and then the rates go up. I'm just speculating about that. You gotta be fair about, like, it's not that the government's it doesn't seem like the government will be paying for it, right? It's not like the government's gonna be, unless the government's subsidizing the IVF element to the insurance. Otherwise, someone's paying for it. It's definitely not the doctors. I know that. It ain't the doctors paying for it. They're not like, oh, we're forced to do this for free. That's not gonna happen. So someone's paying for it, which means it's either you or it's you. The question is it directly coming from you? Is it you through your government taking care of it? That is what it means ultimately. It will. That's what I was saying. It's going to cover it's going to increase the insurance for everyone. If you want to discuss the IVF process in detail, be willing to share my experience. Oh, thank you, Eclectic. I mean, I'm more interested about philosophically than the scientific element behind it, if that makes sense. Although that sometimes that ends up making it more. You have to understand the science to really understand the philosophy. At one time, there were lifetime limits when your insurance paid for anything. Now there's not. It can be done. Okay, someone's paying for it. Someone ends up being you. It isn't an egg or sperm going to waste. They take drugs to ripe a bunch of them, and they are harvested and fertilized and frozen and planted later. All right. It seems like it would be a relatively unique religious perspective, which would say this is a problem. If you define life by the presence of a new unique DNA, then the fertilized egg has the presence of life. If the fertilized egg is not used, then it's getting rid of life. That's your understanding. I think that is pretty much what I was taking from it also. They each have their own unique characteristic. Here's the other problem. Here's the other question I have philosophically. To a lot of people, the sanctity of human life, a lot of religious people specifically, because we're talking about a religious position here. So the sanctity of human life comes with a soul. So is the thought that as soon as that new DNA comes along, that it suddenly has a soul upon its creation, like in that moment, that the soul is there? I don't want to turn this into a whole lengthy philosophical conversation about IVF, but I think it's an interesting question. If you have comments, drop them comment below. Let me know your thoughts on it, by the way, if you're watching after the fact. So.
I can't tell you how life-changing that would be for so many families, because it costs a lot of money. A lot of people go into debt just for the hope of being able to start their own family.
Well, it's big. And you know what? We want to produce babies in this country, right? We want to produce babies. So I think it's going to be something we sort of announced it a little bit. We were in a great place, Michigan. We all love Michigan, right? We're going to bring back the car industry. And we're going to get a lot of it back.
I don't think Wisconsinites, he's in Wisconsin. It tends to be rivals. They tend to be rivals when you're like a little when they're a neighbor.
To Michigan, they've been taking our cars away. They've been taking our manufacturing away over
This is
years.
a fair point. This is a fair point. And I'm sure that's really expensive also. I'm sure that's really expensive.
Over decades, and if you look at it today, it's a shell of what it was years ago, but we're going to bring it back. Mexico is right now building massive car factories, actually being financed and built by China. They think they're going to sell their cars back into our country. It's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Oh, listen to that. That is not going to happen. But so many things have gone wrong in the car industry. The union leadership has been horrible. I think I'm going to win by 85%, the union, but because we're bringing it back.
But whoever would think about a union voting 85% for Republican? Just imagine that.
And we're going to have electric cars, but we're going to have gasoline-powered cars, and we're going to have hybrids. We're going to have every kind of car. We're not going with just that. But I just felt that...
one of the things he does when he's asked a question is he uses it as a launching point to go where he wants to go. And I think he's figuring he's in Rust Belt in his manufacturing country, and that's why he's like going down that road here.
It would be a good place to announce it, and we did sort of the announcement there a little bit, and now we do the big announcement tonight in front of all of these television stations, all of the fake news, the fake, they're all over the place. They're all over the place. I don't know what's going on. We don't even know, I was saying, because we're doing this, and I finished, and I figured I was going to come here, and we're going to make a speech. I had a speech all set for you. I was ready. They said, sir, you're actually doing a town hall. I said, oh, nobody told me that. I said, who's doing it? They said, Tulsi. I said, well, that's at least good news. By
the way, she joined the party Monday, and she's already on Thursday. She's doing a town hall. They're really bringing one in here. They're really. It's such a great move. It is such a great move.
Heard this for a long time, I have to tell you. So I didn't even know. I'm in the plane, and I'm looking over some material, and we're going to give you a hell of a speech tonight. We were set to give you one hell of a speech. They said, no, sir, it's a town hall. I said, why doesn't somebody tell me this stuff? And I don't even have any idea who we're doing it for. I don't know. Is it for a network or what? I see a lot of television all over the place, so maybe it's on all of them. But I did get to see the strangest thing today. I looked at the news conference of Kamala. I call her Comrade Kamala. She's a.
I haven't been doing much fact checking because he hasn't been done any fact checking. He's been talking about what's going to be, not what has been. So can't really fact check other than speculate.
You know that she's a Marxist. Her father was a Marxist before her, so she was brought up in the family tradition, and she really is. And this country is not ready for a Marxist. We don't want a Marxist as a president. And she destroyed San Francisco. She destroyed California, and we're not going to let it destroy our country. I'll tell you, it's not going to happen. So. But
what was her question? I see Dick Dixon saying that. What was her question again? I know she was talking about in vitro, but what was her question? Someone else. He said he supports IVF. He said they're going to pay for IVF.
Just to finish, so for some reason she doesn't want to talk to anybody. So she's either not the smartest light in the ceiling.
I think he answered also.
I'm trying to be nice here. I want to be. They say, be nice, sir, be nice. It's hard to be nice when somebody is destroying your country and wants to destroy your country. It's hard to be like nice. But she is. She was a terrible vice president. She was a terrible border czar, worst in history, probably, not just in this country, but the border, millions and millions of people, I say 20 million plus, have poured through the border during their term. I have the safest border in the history of our country. They have the most unsafe border in the history of the world. And they're coming through, And many of them are from prisons and jails. There's a slight difference, as you know.
He actually answered first and now has gone on
Many are from
tangents.
mental institutions.
There's an IVF question where he's talking about mental patients coming in from Mexico. You know, he's talking about. I know I go on tangents. I got nothing on Donald though.
And insane asylums, and many are terrorists, and they're pouring into our country at a level. I don't know if you saw the news today, Tulsi. They had a group of a lot of them, Venezuelan people with lots of machine guns taking over a building someplace. I'm looking, I'm saying, where is that? They went in and they took over a building. This is just the.
That's in Aurora, Colorado. So now he's actually. I don't know about there being machine guns there. I saw some talk about machine guns recently, but let's check that out. I'll let him go a little bit while I start checking that out.
Beginning, they're taking their criminals from all over. Kamala is allowing it to happen, and they actually want to give them papers. They want to make them citizens, and they want to give them your Social Security. They want to give them your Medicare, and your Social Security will collapse under her. I'm the one that's going to protect the Social Security, but they're coming. I will totally protect, as I did for 4 years, and there was no age increase. There was no anything. We're going to protect. You know, they destroy you with inflation, and then they want to destroy your Social Security. It's not going to happen. But this is going to be the most important election in the history of our country.
All right. So he says they have machine guns. I will tell you, I found this chilling video shows alleged Venezuelan gang members with guns storming through Colorado building. And it does look like, I don't know. I don't think there's a machine. You don't use a scope on a machine gun, to my knowledge. But 3 men, 3 of them armed with handguns and one with a rifle, were seen entering an apartment complex. And we've talked a little bit about. I've talked a little bit about what's going on in Aurora, Colorado, and how they have taken over an apartment complex. That's accurate what he said there. I don't see anything about machine guns. This is crazy. This is crazy. Yeah, I don't know about the machine gun element to it. That part might not be accurate. But the other parts to it, I think, are spot on.
So I just want to say that it's an honor to be with you tonight. It's a forum that's very different because I have no idea who the hell is broadcasting it. But all we'll do is we'll talk because we're friends. I love this state. I gave them Marinette. We gave them a very big, Tulsi, we have a ship contract. And as you know, we gave Marinette yards, but we gave them a tremendous contract. They wanted it all over the country. I said, we're going to get it for Wisconsin, and it's a big one. And they're doing a great job, I understand. So we got that. And we're going to have a good time tonight. So let's go.
Mr. President, you talked about immigration. We actually have Amber here who's quite concerned about that, and she's got a question for you.
This is a good video.
Mr. President, hello. My name is Amber, and I'm from Cameron, Wisconsin. I have 3 beautiful children, and I'm torn on who to support. My youngest daughter is here tonight. My oldest son.
And I'm not sure if I want her to have affluence or famine by voting for Kamala. So, because I care about their well-being.
He's 18, and he just started trade school this week. Very proud of him. My concern is that illegal immigration is threatening opportunities for my children. I worry that it's taking away jobs from Americans. I'm wondering, what will you do about that?
All right, well, it's great. I think I'll stand up and, do you mind if I turn around? Thank you, Amber, very much. And you're right. I'll tell you, we have the people that I'm talking about. They're pouring in at levels never seen before. They're coming in by millions and millions, and a lot of them are taking the jobs for the black population, the Hispanic population, and unions are going to be very badly affected because, and I was talking to some of the union heads who I actually do get along with, but they're very concerned about it because the people that are coming in are just taken. And it's going to start with the black population. African Americans are losing their jobs. And I don't know if you heard the latest statistic that of the jobs that these people created, which is very little, every single job was taken, about 107% was taken by illegal immigrants. There's been no job creation from them. The jobs were filled by illegal immigrants. With all of that being said, I want to give you a very positive answer. We're going to win this election. We're going to turn this country around. We're going to become an unbelievable growth country. And your boy is going to have the greatest job. And you want to have a lot of choice with jobs. You know, you want them to go up and they get up and it's hard to believe I have that the way I get treated. But I look forward to every day because we're going to make America great again. So I really do. I look forward to it.
That's right.
But we're going to create a lot of jobs. We're going to create. Does he want to stay here? Or does he want to go to a different state or anything? Yeah, someplace in the Midwest. But this is a good place to stay, right? Wisconsin. So we'll be creating tremendous jobs for our country. And we're also turning away. You know, we're going to be closing the border, really closing it. By the way, did you see? So Kamala was for defunding the police. She was for open borders. She was for everything that you're not against. I could go through 14 different. She's changed in every single one of them. In fact, I think we should see the man in the red hat and the beautiful woman in the red hat says, "Make America Great Again." Perhaps we should give Kamala a "Make America Great Again" hat. But the problem is, that's not her belief. Her belief is open borders. Her belief is getting rid of Social Security. Her belief is
she's a MAGA in name only. That's what she is, a MAGA.
Is doing all of these plans like for health insurance, where you have one big government-run mess. And if you have private plans, a lot of the people in this room have private plans. They're incredible plans. They worked hard to get those plans, and that's what they want. But with her, she wants to have, it's really a communist type of government. And I just saw her, Tulsi, she was sitting behind a desk doing this interview. And I said, Dana Bash, you could make yourself big tonight. All you have to do is be fair. I haven't seen the questions, but they gave out a sample. In fact, she's going to be on later on tonight with a tape. It was a tape.
I'm doing it after I do this one. I'm probably going to be finishing on locals. In fact, I should share a link to that. I'm probably going to be finishing tonight on locals because at 12:15 I plan on going over to locals. So I'm going to be finishing there. And I cannot imagine that I'm going to get all the way through this and Kamala before then. So that's going to be over on locals, goodlogic.locals.com. While you're here, if you can also sign up, by the way, if you can just hit the whole like and subscribe thing, I'd be much obliged. I would be much obliged. My numbers have been tanking, not going to kid you. They've been tanking. So what little I can do to encourage people, sign up. Perhaps you've been unsubscribed. You would not be the first or the last if you've been unsubscribed. It's I had a 20 minutes out of my conversation, my 45-minute conversation with my project manager is what I can do to get YouTube to stop getting people unsubscribe from me. I don't think they're choosing to unsubscribe. I think that they're just being unsubscribed. Sure, one or two must be choosing it, but anyway, it's been a hellacious summer in that respect. But I do plan on finishing over there.
It live. Why are we doing it live and she's doing it taped? But
that's right. He's real.
But she was sitting behind that desk, this massive desk, and she didn't look like a leader to me, I'll be honest. I don't see her negotiating with President Xi of China. I don't see her with Kim Jong-un like we did with Kim Jong-un. So we're going to have to see what happens. I'll tell you what, November 5th is going to be the most important day in the history of this country. Go big.
Mr. President,
I mean, maybe July 4th, 1776 was probably, more significant, to be fair. To fact check, it was more significant. But that's obviously a claim. That's a statement of opinion.
there are a lot of people who want to feel hopeful about our future. I want to introduce you to Luke, who is one of those people.
Hi.
Hello, Mr. President.
Good looking guy.
Thank you. My name is Luke Pulaski, and I'm a junior here at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. I'll be voting for the first time in November, and I'm researching each candidate. I have two questions for you. First, as I've been living on my own and buying my own gas and groceries, I've noticed that everything has become more expensive.
If you're living on your own, that means you're voting Republican.
For me personally, I try to eat healthy and stay lean. A pound of meat has gone from $4 to almost $7. I also would like to buy.
Can someone explain to me, when he's mentioning pound of meat $4 to $7, can someone explain to me, please, how it is that they claim that food prices have only gone up 20%? Because I don't think that's true at all. I went shopping just before the show here, grabbed myself some food, and everything is 50% higher than it was 4 years ago. Everything. How can it possibly be only 20%? I don't believe it.
Home someday, but that seems just impossible now.
Avocados, okay, which are a major staple in my diet. Avocados are now practically $3 an avocado. It's like $2.89 for an avocado, for a single avocado. A bag of avocados, like the mini non-ripe ones, the smaller non-ripe ones, which was like 4 or 5 of them, was like $5.99, and it just went up to $7.99. I mean, and I was just like going through the store. Eggs that used to cost $3 are now $5. And the thing is, when it's eggs and milk, these are products that are in everything. So when they're in everything, it means the price of everything, just like when gas prices go up, it's sort of like a staple of the economy as far as a need in order to help deliver it to the public. Seeing as how eggs and milk are used in so many different products, when they start going up, that means cheese goes up. It means everything that uses any dairy products are going up. That's just what happens. It cannot be. It's been only 20%. I don't buy it.
What's your plan to make life more affordable and bring down inflation for someone like me?
Very good. Thank you. Good. It's probably the question I get most. You know, they say you're going to vote with your stomach. I don't know if you've heard it, but it's a little bit true. And groceries, food has gone up at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We've never seen anything like it, 50, 60, 70%. You take a look at bacon and some of these products, and some people don't eat bacon anymore. And we are going to get the energy prices down. When we get energy down, you know, this was caused by their horrible energy wind. They want wind all over the place. But when it doesn't blow, we have a little problem. This was caused by energy. This was really caused by energy and also their unbelievable spending. They're spending us out of wealth, actually. They're taking our wealth away. But it was caused by energy. And what they've done is they started cutting way back. We were in third place. When I left, we were by far in first place, beating Russia, beating Saudi Arabia. And we were going to dominate to a level that we've never seen before. And then we had a bad election. I'll be very nice. I'm supposed to be nice when I talk about the election, because everybody's afraid to talk about, oh, please, sir, don't talk about the election, please. You know, if you can't talk about a bad election, you really don't have a democracy if you think about it, right?
But I do agree that it's a bad speaking point for him. It's a bad speaking point because it just makes him look bitter and petty. And there's so many better ways for him to come out. It makes there's no way he can bring it up other than in the point of preserving democracy the way he just did. The way he just did is okay.
What they did, Tulsi, is they took back the oil production. The oil started going crazy. That started the inflation. Then they went back. They said, go back to where Trump was. The problem is that we would have been 3 times that level right now. We would have been so dominant over Russia and Saudi Arabia. Look, Saudi Arabia, Russia, a lot of oil. We would have had more. You know, we had something in Alaska, Anwar, that I created. I mean, Ronald Reagan wanted it. You remember? Ronald Reagan wanted it. They all wanted it. And I got it approved. Nobody was able to get it approved. I got it approved. And the first week in office, they turned it back. They said, no, it's the biggest site possibly in the world, could be bigger than Saudi Arabia. Well, we're going to start that up. We're going to become the energy capital of the world. We're going to pay down our debt, and we're going to reduce your taxes still further. And your groceries are going to come tumbling down, and your interest rates are going to be tumbling down. And then you're going to go out, you're going to buy a beautiful house. Okay? You're going to buy a beautiful house. That's called the American dream. The American dream. Thank you.
Mr. President.
I'm going to fact check that. In the sense that, sadly, as everything he said about prices and inflation and its causes, I agree with. The situation with young people being able to buy a house it's grave right now. It's grave. I'm not kidding. And I think that, it's an easy thing for him to sort of, make promises like that, but, it sounds good and everything like that. But the reality is that even if you bring down the price of gas to 50 cents a gallon, house prices are not coming down anytime soon. I mean, they might come down. I mean, look, the market ebbs and flows, but you have to get really the interest. You have to get interest rates much lower than they are, and the problem, and if you're wondering about, and I'll just explain this to you, the economics behind the problem with the housing market is that part of the reason there's such high inflation, when there is high inflation, is it's the two causes that seem to be what's in effect here, which he touched on both of them, is the price of energy and overspending by the government. When the government starts printing out a lot of money, things start becoming more expensive. The way they try and combat that is the Fed will raise its interest rates. Because when you raise interest rates, it restricts the flow of money. So they're giving out a lot of money, and then they restrict the flow of money by making high interest rates. Well, when the Fed has high interest rates, that means that if you're trying to buy a house, to borrow money, you're looking at rates 9-10%, double digits on your interests. That means the cost of your house is infinitely higher. So the housing market itself has gone up considerably, and your interest rates are ridiculously high, which makes it just impossible to buy now. It's really, you have to be like, a wealthy person to buy a home. And most young people who are starting out and building a family, they're not wealthy. So I understand him trying to tell his audience, you're going to buy a big, beautiful home. You're going to, living in the home of your dreams. Okay. It might start getting better, but we're a ways away from that.
I want to ask you a question about national security, but first I think it's important to point out what Luke is talking about: the cost of groceries, the cost of gas, the cost of housing, mortgages, rent, everything has gone up. Kamala Harris's plan that she has announced is government price controls. And I think it's important to touch on, and I
think this is an important point you're making, Aquanet. It goes up and it goes down. Interest rates go up and they go down. It's not the first time that we've seen high interest rates, and it's not the last. They go up. It does go up and goes down. So, but usually when it's coming down, there are tough times. Tough times come first, and that helps bring, and the benefit, the silver lining to those tough times, interest rates end up coming down.
Out your plan. What's going to happen if Kamala Harris institutes price controls?
So that's a communist plan. It's never worked. And it's been tried by others. Believe it or not, Richard Nixon tried it. A lot of people tried it. It's been tried many times, and it always leads to the same failure. Tremendous inflation, lack of product. You don't have anything. The stores are not stocked. It has never worked. It's called control. They want control. And, look, it's been so often. And everybody that comes in, they say it. It sort of sounds great. We're going to go price control. Actually, when she announced it, she got absolutely slaughtered by even Democrats because it doesn't work. It's a known loser. So now she doesn't talk about it. You notice she doesn't talk about climate change anymore? She's not talking about it. You know why? Because people don't want to hear it. They want to live a good life. They want to live a life. They don't want to stop your industry with climate change. They used to call it different things, global warming. Remember, that wasn't working because it was getting a little bit cooler. So they said, what are we going to do? We'll call it global cooling. No. So they came up with the words climate change because that takes care of everything. Climate change. The climate's changing, but according to them, we're all going to be gone in about, what do we have, 3 years left? They had 12 years, remember? So in about 3 years, let me tell you, we do have a problem though. It's climate change, but a different kind of climate change. It's called nuclear global warming. We can say that's global warming. And if we don't have a smart president, you have 5 nations now with pretty massive nuclear power. Some have very massive, including us and Russia. China's behind, way behind, but within 4 or 5 years, they'll catch up. And we don't want them to catch up. Look, the biggest problem, in my opinion, the biggest problem our country has, the biggest problem the world has is nuclear weapons. They are.
I've said this many times, by the way. This is the and I know people say that as a joke and stuff like that, but the point is we know nothing about the climate. We know nothing about literally nothing, like an amoeba on the butt of an elephant, and was circling around. And we're like, oh, I think I know what this animal is. It's like, no, you don't. You have no clue. You don't know if it's got a trunk in front. You don't know if it's got a long neck. You don't know what the hell it has. You're sitting there. You're a tiny little speck. That's what we are. We're an infinitesimal speck trying to say that, oh, because we really scouted out this past 15, 20, 50 years, which we didn't really scout out very well the last 50 years, much less, I don't know, the last 50 centuries, 50 millennia. And it's like you're sitting here saying that you understand climate or how things affect climate. It's such a stupid scam. It was always such an obvious scam to me. And I was saying this when I was the only person I know saying it. I was saying this in forums where everyone was telling me like the response I would get would be so snarky. It was so cynical. Like, wow, 97% of scientists believe in climate change, but you know better, Joe. You know better, Joe. They wouldn't say Joe because I would never use my real name there. But they're like, oh yeah, you know a lot better. And I'm like, 97% of scientists don't agree on anything. But the snarky response would be like, wow, do you believe in gravity? Do you believe in gravity? like, wow, that's how much this got accepted. That's like gravity. It's like it's as obvious as gravity. It's not like I was hanging out in leftist circles either. I mean, I didn't shy away from arguing with leftists, but everyone, it's only a relatively recent thing. It's only really since Trump came along that people started waking up to what a complete hoax this thing is.
A destructive force, the likes of which nobody has ever seen before. And we have to make sure they're never used. We have to make sure it's not going to happen.
You're exactly right.
Well done, Erin. Yes, I'm going to tell you something. She looks terrible. Tell me, this is a better look for her? I don't understand it. Maybe she's trying to remind us that she comes from the Democratic Party. Maybe that's what the whole deal is. Terrible. It's awful. It looks like a clown suit. It's terrible. Ice ages are climate change. Geology is truth. Yeah, there you go. There you go. That was pretty massive climate change.
Right. You brought up Ronald Reagan already. Ronald Reagan famously said, a nuclear war can never be won and should never be fought. And I think it's interesting you talked about climate change, Mr. President. The Democrats and Kamala Harris, they were quick to talk about how climate change
I'm just going to say, obviously, she has, good genetics. I'm not disputing that. She got good genetics. I'm simply saying as a look, it's not a good look.
An existential threat. But what they're not talking about is the existential threat of nuclear war and World War III, which is exactly where we sit today because of the warmongers and their puppets, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And they don't want to talk about it because the consequence of where they have taken all of us as the American people and the world is economic hardship around the world, a destruction of our economic well-being, and an annihilation of humanity, our families, our kids, our communities around the world. There's a recent poll that YouGov did that pointed out.
Before we get further into her question here, we know a lot about climate. What we don't know is how cycles of multiple things have long-term effects over 100 years. NASA's climate model isn't even accurate more than 10 years. They literally get every prediction wrong. Every single, it's astonishing. Every doomsday prediction. Wrong. And what we have seen from the Earth is that every 30 years, it seems to go into a cycle of a warming period versus a cooling period. In the 1970s, we were in a cooling period. In 2000s, we're in a warming period. You'll see. In 5 years, we're going to start hearing about the cooling period that's coming. And it's going to be called climate change instead of it being recognizing that, hey, that's what the Earth has done for the last 150 years, is every 30 years it goes through a warming or cooling phase. But all the people talk about global warming can't explain why it is that the 1950s were cool. When at the start of the industrial age, it's like they couldn't explain it. They can't explain this stuff. 70s were freezing. Or initially, it was global warming. 70s were real. I remember the 70s. We had like massive snowstorms, like multiple times a year. And to be fair, now if it snows more than 3 times in a year, it's shocking.
Over 60% of Americans feel that World War III and nuclear war is going to happen within 5 to 10 years.
I wasn't saying that.
And when I heard that, I felt so sad because they're at a point where they feel like this outcome, the annihilation of the world, is inevitable. So I wanted to ask you about this because it's important that people understand what kind of leadership you bring, what you will do to stop this slide towards nuclear war and World War III so that we can feel hopeful again.
So she's very big. Her personal thing is she's very big against nuclear weapons. She's for her, as long as I've ever heard of her, I've heard her talk about nuclear weapons. And my personal perspective about nuclear weapons is I don't see how we're going to get away from nuclear weapons, from having nuclear weapons. You want to talk about slowing down the proliferation of nuclear weapons? You think that they're not going to be creating some nuclear weapon which will literally destroy entire Europe? That we're not going to get there? I think the doomsday machine that was predicted in Star Trek in the 60s, I think we're well on our way there. So I don't know that we can actually get away from that whole thing. And if we had 20% less nuclear weapons, is the world a safer place? I don't know how it is. You certainly want them updated. Then you got to figure out, okay, so we're going to retire the stuff that we created in the 1990s, in the early 2000s. Like, what are you going to do? I don't know how you get away from it. I don't have an answer on that one. I understand, because at the end of the day, what, you're going to just leave like the bad people with nuclear weapons? There is a concept that was developed all the way back in the 80s as far as, balance of power by each side, both basically having a nuclear threat to keep the other one in check. That was the whole thing between the arms race in the 80s. So, it's not like Russia is the big bad guy. Now you have countless big bad guys propping up all over the place. The last 10 years has been North Korea. You tell me that 10 years from now it can't be some other country. Same if you get some even if you got everyone to sort of put them away, which good luck with that. You tell me you're going to get You're gonna get Taliban to get rid of how many nuclear warheads did Biden leave behind there? Scary. Hopefully none. I don't know.
Thank you. So, Viktor Orban, a very strong leader from Hungary, Prime Minister of Hungary, they asked him recently about what's the problem in the world. A few years ago, during my term, we had we didn't have Israel being attacked. We didn't have Russia attacking Ukraine. And they asked him, why is it so bad now? The Middle East is on fire. So many places are on fire, and there are plenty places that could very well and very quickly catch on. What's the problem? You said you have to bring Trump back as president of the United States. You will have no problem. He single-handedly kept things, and it's true. And I could do it with telephone calls by being smart, but literally he said you have to bring Trump back. Now, he used a term I wouldn't use. He said everybody was afraid of Trump. You know who was afraid of Trump? They said China was afraid of Trump. Russia was afraid of Trump. They were all, and I don't want to say that. I will say this. They respected me and they respected our nation. They don't respect our nation anymore. They don't respect our nation anymore.
And that is obvious in countless ways. In countless ways. It is obvious. And you have to ask yourself, if you were sitting there and you were looking across the table at Trump, or you're looking at the table at Biden, who, you know, old and infirm Biden, I mean, seriously, much less Kamala. I'm old enough to remember the 70s well. All the sign shows on TV were about the coming ice age. Economy sucked. Interest rates were 18% in 1981. There were gas lines and food shortages. Actually, it was in the late 70s that they had gas lines. It started getting better around 1981. But I remember that there being gas shortages. It was really, and to be fair, a lot of people praise Reagan as if he fixed the economy. He didn't fix the economy. I don't think he fixed the economy. He was a real leader. I mean, the guy fired the airline workers who went on strike. That was pretty cool, actually. That's pretty badass. He's like, "Oh, you want to go to strike? Oh, okay, you're fired." They were like, "You can't fire us. Everyone's gonna die in plane crashes." It's like, we'll figure it out. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. But no, he was a genuine leader. The reason the economy got fixed, though, was because personal computer just exploded, and everyone needed one. Everyone. So no one had a personal computer in 1975, and everyone had one by 1985. Commodore 64, or you know, your Apple computer, which later became Mac. That's what spurred the economy. Innovation spurs the economy. So if you're a president who happens to be sitting there during the blessing of someone coming up with some significant innovation, you're going to look good. Even Clinton looked good with the birth of the internet.
Think of it. What would the world be like if Russia didn't do what they did, and they would have never done it? I used to speak to Putin about it. I had a very good relationship. No chance. You know what happened, I think, Afghanistan, when he saw the horrible leadership that we displayed in Afghanistan, I think he said, wow, this is...
I played a clip here, but he's talking about leadership and that element of it. I played a clip of someone who was with him when he met with the Taliban. And he told over this story. I don't know where the clip is, but he told over this story. He said, we're going to pull out. That Trump promised to pull out. He said, we're going to pull out. And you're not going to harm any Americans. Because if any Americans get harmed, you will die. And then he reached into his jacket and handed the guy, the leader of the Taliban, he handed him a satellite photo of his house and walked out. I mean, can you imagine Kamala doing something like that? Or even Biden doing something like that? Even a healthy Biden doing something like that? That's freaking leadership. Are they afraid of him? Yeah. Is that a good thing? Hell yeah. That's a really good thing. That's a really good thing. That's a great thing. That story alone That story alone is why every person should be voting for him. That's a friggin' leader. That is a leader. You might not always agree with where he ends up going with things. That's a leader. That's a guy who stands up after bullets are fired at him and screaming, fight, fight, fight. That's a leader.
The time to go in, because I wasn't there. He would have never done it if I was president, and Israel would have never been attacked. Think of it. What would this world be
Kamala
like? You wouldn't have had that disaster. And it wasn't leaving Afghanistan.
Okay.
And they should have kept Bagram. That's the big air base. It's 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons.
I'm almost positive it's pronounced Bagram. I'm almost positive it's pronounced Bagram. But I don't even care about him mispronouncing it.
Keep it. You know who occupies it now, Tulsi? China occupies it. So we have, if you have the right president.
See, he's saying China has now occupied Bagram. I'm going to check that out. I'm pretty sure I saw something to that effect. But let's check it out. I promised I was going to fact check. I just did a Google search. Okay, I'll share with you my Google search results. So that's from 2021. Are Chinese troops at Bagram? Recent visits to Afghanistan by Chinese officials and reports that Chinese military trainers are working with the Haqqani network. That's according to Afghanistan Asia News. That sparked concerns among Afghans. Yeah, it seems like China is there. China will probably get access to Bagram. That's in July 2023. Chinese military aircraft landed Bagram Air Base. So, yeah, he definitely has basis to make the claim. Ex-Google CEO, AI still requires so much energy, data to develop. We need half of Saudi's oil, and that's why we're all squashing into 15-minute cities to live online. I don't know.
And we don't right now. Right now, do we even have a president? He just came in. Think of it. He just came in from wherever the hell he went. You know, there was a coup. He just doesn't know it yet. But there was a coup. How about that? He got 14. I'm not a fan of his. He was the worst president. But
You're not?
But think of this. He got 14 million votes. She was the first one to leave, you know. Kamala was the first one to quit. She never made it to the first state in the primaries, which was Iowa, never even came close. Other people did, but she never even came close. And all of a sudden, she was picked, and she's now running for president. And look, it just started, really. It just really started. The polls have us up here. We're up in this. We're up in states, but it's close. It's close. It's close. And, you know, they cheat like hell, so we don't want to have it too close. But we have, because we have to win this. We're not going to have a country. But with him, I was so far up. We had a thing called, how did he do in the debate? Did you think he did well? Not too good. No, they wanted to have a debate. I said, okay, it's a little bit early, isn't it? I was trying to talk them out. I said, well, it's a little early for a debate, right? And they said, well, I think we'd like to do it. And
yeah, they did it because they wanted to have time to change him out in case he had a disastrous showing the way he did. That's why they wanted it as early as they did. Gimme Joe asking me if Joe did you see the secret interview with Steven Crowder's investigation journalist and one of the top UN officials who was talking about the plans for a global government and can't achieve it if Trump is elected? I have not seen that yet. I'm curious to check it out now. I am curious about that. I haven't seen it yet though. I'm not going to be able to cover it tonight. I'm just not going to have time. But.
Good debate for them. That was not a good debate. So that was the beginning of the end for him. And they started looking. But they picked a woman that had absolutely no votes. She got no votes. And now she's running. So when you say threat to democracy, they are a threat to democracy. I'm not a threat to democracy. I'm not a threat. Thank you.
Mr. President, crime and the rise of
Jeremiah says over on locals. Sorry, not Jeremiah. Neurodivergent says, nice thumbnail. I wouldn't even trust her to make my burgers and fries. It's actually, in case if you don't get the reference to Kamala there in McDonald's thing, Kamala has been going around talking about how she worked at McDonald's when she was back in college, which as soon as I heard her say that, my brain was just like, red flag, red flag, red flag. Definitely not true. Not true. Not true. Not true. But how would I know? I don't know her. I don't looked at her CV. So how do I know? The reason in my brain it made no sense is because she's a rich girl. She comes from rich daddy. I was like, rich girls don't work at McDonald's. The other part to it was, is there a more stereotypical job that someone pictures a kid working in? They literally call it McJob. And she's so stupid. She's so stupid in how she tries to lie about things that I was just like, if she told me she worked at Wendy's, I would believe it more. When she comes up with the literally McJob and to say, I'm one of you, I'm just like you. I remember when I was working in college and I had to go to McDonald's. I put in my time in McDonald's there. It's like, just no. If you told me you worked as a clerk in some sort of clothing store, I would have bought it more. McDonald's, and I'm not hating on McDonald's. I'm simply saying it is literally, there's a term McJob. I mean, because it's like that's considered the bottom of the barrel job, McJob. In fact, McDonald's, you might not know this, but McDonald's actually was really outraged when that came to be like when there was a term McJob that was went around there, and Merriam-Webster was thinking about adding it in as an actual word, McJob. I don't know if it actually ended up making it in, and they said, and McDonald's perspective is, we think that McJob should be a place defined as a place where people have an opportunity for entry level admission and high growth or something like that. But the point is, McJob is a word, and she happened to work at McDonald's in the 90s. No, that's just not reality. So you got rich girl who probably wouldn't be working at all when she's in college, and if anything, seemed like she was probably a party girl when she was in college, given everything we know about her actual CV. And it's not like people don't go from to dating Montel Williams. It's just Montel Williams wasn't picking up his dates from McDonald's. No, I'm not buying that. I was like, I don't buy it. But I didn't know. I just assumed it was garbage. Well, now Snopes is saying that McDonald's says we have no record of her ever working here. We got no record of her ever working here. How do they not have a record of her? She's the only one they lost? We got no record of her ever working here. So I wanted to, and seeing as how she's so fake in everything she did, so I actually created that AI image of her working McDonald's, and I made sure to have her look like really like her current age now. And be like, this is her evidence from 30 years ago. I wanted it to be obviously AI. That was the joke. That she's gonna sit here trying to prove she's there with more obvious lies. That was the entire joke. And I had people being like, that looks like AI to me. Hey, what's going on? That's AI. And I was just like, because I shared it out on Twitter. What was the tweet I had there? It's like, are people not getting the joke? Are they just not getting it? And I feel like people don't understand me. It's like, I feel so misunderstood. It was a different picture I made here. But the point, I mean, she's got like 9 fingers in this picture. There's like a thumb over here. I don't know, it's like corn. It says Moords in the background of boards. I don't even know what it says. Definitely not saying McDonald's. The point being, like, this is the type of evidence she's going to give us to prove that she was really there, because she doubles down with her BS all the time. Anyway, that was the point. Started McJob Checkers, now a lawyer. Ask her how to make a Big Mac or change 20. Seriously. She went freaking clue. If she had just said something like, I worked in a department store, and no, it had to be McDonald's. I was like, no, you didn't. So that's why I was really pleased to see her get exposed by McDonald's. That was great.
Is on the minds of a lot of people. I want to call on Danielle here, who has a question for you.
Hi, Danielle.
Danielle. Louder. Louder.
Well, you get a lot of those questions from Minnesota, but you get a lot of those questions because Minnesota, they picked this guy.
I guess it was something about Tim Walz. That's what I'm assuming. I didn't hear it either. I don't know what the question was. I doubt they got it better on a different station because this is the best video and audio so far I've seen so far. Kamala's parents divorced as soon as they migrated to the U.S. where her dad to be at Stanford. Kamala and her mom went to Canada before she started school. Yeah, she comes from money. I know they're divorced. Okay, fine. She comes from money.
He is weird. Huh? He's weird. I'm not weird. He's weird. No, he's a weird guy.
But here's the thing, by the way, I just even noticed this. You worked at Checkers, not at McDonald's. That's my point. Even Checkers is called a McJob. But she's so unoriginal that she had to claim that she worked at McDonald's. If she said she worked at Checkers, I'd believe it more.
Dude, see, they come up with sound bites. They always have sound bites. And one of the things is that JD and I are weird. That guy is so straight. JD is he's doing a great job, smart, top student, great guy. And he's not weird, and I'm not weird. We're a lot of things, we're not weird.
Can you believe that guy? He started off he grew up poor and ended up going to Yale and becoming a senator. He's weirdo. What a weirdo. What a crazy weirdo. He doesn't believe in putting tampons in boys' rooms. Weirdo. What are you, some weirdo? It's like, okay.
I will tell you. But that guy is weird, don't you think? He signed for, and this is, who would think that this is even happening in our country with men playing in women's sports and all of this, but he has it at a level that nobody can believe. A bill that every boy's bathroom will have tampons.
There we go, Tampon Timmy.
Hence his name, Tampon Tim. But think of it. And on the question of abortion, he is the one. Abortion in the 9th month. And if the baby in Minnesota, and I'd love to win Minnesota because those people aren't digging this guy. They're not digging this guy. But think of this.
Historically, Minnesota is very Democrat. Very Democrat. They are the state that has the longest running active streak of voting Democrat. Longer than California or New York or Illinois. Longest running active streak of voting Democrat is Minnesota. So good luck. If he wins Minnesota, oh my God, is that a reputation of Tim Walz? Is that like the ultimate slam? I actually was thinking, like, of any state you're going to take that to try to get some help in, Minnesota's the one state you probably don't need Kamala. Literally more than 40 years, like for 40 years now. Every election. Democrat. 10 in a row. So, yeah.
6 states, Minnesota is one of them. If the baby is born, you're allowed to execute the baby after birth. In Minnesota, you're allowed to execute And you remember the former governor, not the current governor, who's terrific, Len Youngkin. We're going to win maybe Virginia. We could.
So I want to fact check what he just said here, and I don't have to even pull it up to fact check it because I did this in the past. I looked this up when Tim Walz first was tabbed as the vice president. They're not allowed to execute. They cannot actively execute. You'll probably see fact checkers saying, he's lying. You're not allowed to execute in Minnesota. No. If there's a botched abortion, in the event that there's a botched abortion, by botched abortion, what it actually means is baby comes out and it's alive. In Minnesota, there is no legal obligation to give that baby medical care or food. So they literally can starve it to death. You just need to, it says you need to care for it. Keep him warm as he withers away. There you go. With a little newborn, innocent soul withers away. And it's monstrous. Monstrous. This guy can't, this guy is bucking for his ticket out of here so he can like be burning in the hottest pit of hell. Terrible human being. It's monstrous. It would be almost more merciful if in fact they would just kill it rather than starving them to death. Monsters.
But the former governor, and he said, you sit the mother down and the father down, you sit them down and you talk, and the baby is born and you make a decision what to do. He meant, do you execute the baby after birth? And according to what they have passed and legislation, in Minnesota, they're allowed to execute the baby after birth. And this guy is a participant. And that's why she picked him, because she is, in fact, a Marxist/communist. Remember, I'd say all the time, our country will never be socialist, right? We will not have a socialist. Well, I was right. We skipped socialism. We went to communism. This woman has to be stopped.
Mr. President, we have time for one final question. I don't know if we can get a mic to Bernardo. He's got an important question, given very soon we will be honoring the anniversary of September 11th and all of the lives that were lost on that tragic day in that tragic attack where we were attacked by radical Islamist terrorists. And Bernardo wanted to share his thoughts and had a question for you on this.
Thank you.
Mr. President, my name is Bernardo. I'm a voter here in Wisconsin. Live in the
Hold on a second. I don't even know what this means. I don't even know what this means. I guess when you're talking about the process, you're talking about the process for like how to make what do they call them? A cheeseburger? So you're telling me a Big Mac, right? Sorry. I've never eaten at McDonald's. So if you're saying ask for the process how to make a Big Mac, so now you're telling me that the pickles are friends, not lovers. Pickles are friends, not lovers. So I guess that means they're not supposed to be touching. Supposed to be in the same. Is that?
wonderful La Crosse County here. And I'm also a father of 8. I have 7 here with me. And it's the anniversary of 9/11 is coming up. I'm concerned that we're more vulnerable now than ever. And we have a Democrat nominee who doesn't even want to say the words, says we shouldn't say the words, radical Islamic terror. How are we going to protect America from a terrorist attack?
First of all, it's a great question. And, you know, we have radical Islamists pouring into our country along with everybody else right now. They're coming in at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We kept them out. We had 1 year where Border Patrol put down, it was, I believe, 2019, where they, and I don't believe this, I don't believe it's right, but I'll take it. They said 0 came in 20, that was my term, 0. Now we have thousands. I'd like to say that was true. It's probably not, because I can't imagine that, but we were very tough on that. Now they have thousands and thousands coming in, along with the prisoners and along with the crime. And remember, a lot of these countries like Venezuela, their crime is way down because they've moved their criminals into our country. It's not even believable. But your question on Islamists and all of the jihad and all of the things that they talk about, they have to respect your country. They have to respect your leader. You know, I had no radical Islam crime for 4 years, and I didn't want to talk about it. I wanted to, I talked about it after, but I didn't want to talk about it during. I don't want to say like, I had absolutely, and the next day you get hit. But we had none, 4 years of it, because they respected your president, they respected your country, and we have to bring back that level of respect, and we're going to do it. We're going to do it. And we're not letting the wrong people into our country. Okay, thank you very much. Great question.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know you have run out of time here, but thank you for having this conversation with the people of Wisconsin and people across the country who are watching and concerned about these very same issues. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you, everybody. Vote. Vote. Thank you, everybody, very much.
Definitely can't play that. Definitely not playing that. So I think he did fairly well there. I think. Can you imagine Kamala even trying to take questions like that? And I'll tell you this much: it's not like she's not experienced as a politician. She's gotten so bad. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about Kamala. He shouldn't dance. Someone's got to tell this guy not to dance. No, just don't dance. You're not a dancer. You can do it. You have a lot of talents. A lot of talent. That's not one of them. It's just not. I can't play YMCA. Well, anyway, his dancing is probably the worst thing about Donald Trump. It's terrible. It's terrible stuff. It's terrible. What do you mean you love his dancing? No, his dancing. No, the dancing is not. Okay, now I gotta put a poll on this. No, come on. Yes, locals is fixed, and I put it in. And I put a link in the description. I didn't put the link in the. Let me put it in. I put it. And I pinned it to. I'm going to start doing the Kamala thing in a moment or two, but. Here on YouTube and Rumble, but I pinned it in the description. I do plan on finishing Kamala up over there, and I'll probably be handling some other stuff also as well. So, because I'm probably gonna have some time to hang with you guys. But I never actually finished up the assessment of Nick's motion that I was planning on doing. Let me just do this. I'm going to put it in the description here in Rumble. So Rumble has it. That way no one's going to be able to have to miss anything. I'm guessing because pickles are cucumbers before they're pickles. You're talking about why they're friends, not lovers. I assume this is a placement thing. It's a way to remember not to have them touching each other. The reason I would assume you wouldn't have them touching each other, or I guess one on top of the other, that would be lovers, right? Lovers would be one on top of the other. Never put pickles on top of each other. That would be like lovers. But I am going to put a poll up here about Trump dancing because I can't believe that I don't even believe you people. I think you're pulling my leg about this. Okay. I'm going to have Trump dancing is good, bad, great, or offense to humanity? I think it's terrible. What is this? What is happening there? No. I want to just point out, by the way, one of the things he talked about was the price gouging and stuff like that. I think it's important for us to. It's cute. We're constantly searching for news organizations that can actually share truth with us, and they're far too few. And I certainly don't want to be portraying The Atlantic as being one of them. And so I just want to, before I get into Kamala and her stupidity, I want to point out to you the Atlantic is talking about what Kamala Harris doesn't get about food costs and taking her to task for her price gouging claim. It's a lengthy article because it's The Atlantic and they don't know how to summarize anything into something that's comprehensible or really feels like you don't want to stab your eyes out 3 minutes into it. But her plans are so bad that even the left is like, oh God, please don't do this. Oh God, please don't do this to us. Please don't. Why would they be doing this? They're usually just like, yay, go. And it's so bad that even leftist magazines can't avoid the truth on this. This is the friggin' Atlantic, which is like, last week in North Carolina, Kamala Harris called for a new federal law to ban price gouging on food. Such a law might be popular, but it would have, at best, no impact on grocery prices and might even make the problem worse. That's especially unfortunate because it distracts from all the federal policy changes that actually could reduce food prices. The evidence that price gouging was responsible for the post-pandemic spike in food prices is somewhere between thin and non-existent. A recent report from the New York Federal Reserve found that retail food inflation was mainly driven by much higher food commodity prices and large increases in wages for grocery store workers. Oh, so you mean all those? So you're saying, you're saying that raising minimum wage is not going to help the problem? It's not? Really? These idiots have no idea how to fix any problems. Every way they try to fix it, they make it work. They make it worse. So, but here's the thing. It's not like she's an inexperienced politician. It's not like she's some new kid on the block. As she would stupidly say, I didn't fall out of the coconut tree yesterday. Like, how is it that she's so terrible at being able to campaign and make her voice heard? How can anyone be this terrible and have risen as high as she has? And I understand that, you can make all the jokes you want about her, using other hidden talents to rise up in the political ranks the way she has. But a lot of folks have tried that. She's gone further than any of them so far. And not all the folks who have tried that are as terrible and cringy as she is. And maybe she's being propped up by socialists and corporatists and stuff like that. It's definitely possible. Definitely possible. Wouldn't be surprising at all. In fact, I would say I would assume that that's part of it. But yeah, it's only a reflection of just how terrible her policies are that even the left can't stomach them. They're like, what the hell's happening? What are you talking about? This is just terrible idea. Terrible ideas. And it's astonishing because the left is always willing to cover for any stupid ideas. And I don't even understand what's happening because, the Washington Post similarly had a takedown of her policy about food, about price controls. These are entities which are willing to go to war for any kind of stupid policies. And they're putting out articles saying, this is terrible. This is a disaster. And I'm sort of still trying to digest what it is about this particular policy that makes them truthful. And it can't just be, well, it's obvious, because it's also obvious what a woman is, and they can't admit to that. They don't care about what's obvious and what's not. I'm really wondering what the heck the left is thinking in bashing Kamala for this price gouging thing. And they hit on her. They hit her pretty hard, saying this is a terrible idea. And it's confounding to me. So I don't believe that they're actually looking to inform their readers, because there's so much evidence to the contrary. So I'm sort of left trying to figure out here, why is it that these articles on the left are so against the price fixing? Many of them seem to be practically socialists themselves, and this would be a socialist type of perspective. So what is it about the price gouging policy that has gotten the leftist legacy media to start telling the truth about what a disastrous idea this is, rather than trying to sell it as like, no, this is what we need to save the consumer? I'll take your theories on this. She's much worse than Biden's twin. Much worse. She's much more of a socialist than he was. So you think it's follow the money, who funds them? It's not a bad starting point. Big agriculture? Maybe. Yeah, okay, so I agree with you. It's a very socialist type of perspectives. Most of these corporatists are socialists. So why would they be exposing that, hey, Kamala Harris doesn't know what the heck she's talking about here. They literally saying that. She doesn't understand this problem. Why are they telling the truth? Which is it's pretty funny. I never thought I'd be starting a podcast where I get to a point in our society where I'm sitting here trying to understand why I'm hearing honesty from legacy media. But I guess here we are. Let's see, it hurts. Yeah, I know they know it doesn't work, but they usually lie. But they're not lying now. Why? So this fits in with the follow the money perspective that K-Val is giving us. He said they're funded by ads, stop price gouging, and they lose ad revenue. So the reason that these answers you're all giving me here are not really washing with me, the reason it's not really resonating with me, is because if they really believed it, if they really were concerned about price gouging, about price controls, they could still hold off until after the election before pointing out what a terrible idea it is. If they're trying to protect big agriculture, why would they not wait until? Why are they talking about this now? Why didn't they wait till after the election and say, by the way, price controls are stupid? Why would you do this before the election and point out just what an idiot Kamala Harris is publicly? It's almost as if it's treasonous, like they're stepping into treasonous territory of bashing Kamala. It's a very weird scenario. It's not like this is getting pumped through Congress next week, next month. It's not like you have to write this article today. They could have waited until December to put this article out. Why? Why would they do this now? I know it's in the news that she's talking about it, but still, they never care about that. This is all about messaging and an agenda for legacy media. So why are they doing this now? And I wonder if it's possible that maybe they don't really like Kamala. Maybe they really don't like Kamala. Maybe legacy media is starting to come around on Trump. And they're recognizing she's genuinely terrible. It's an idea that I'm not going to present to you as that's what the answer is, because I don't know that that's the answer. I'm not even sure I believe like it's the likely answer. It's an idea I've been toying with in my brain. I'm just sort of speculating that maybe legacy media really doesn't like Kamala. And to them, she's not much better than Trump. And in certain ways, perhaps worse. Because you don't need to write this article, even if you want to stop price gouging and price controls. You don't need to write this article today. And writing it today definitely hurts Kamala's chances. So I don't know what it is. And I'm still trying to ferret this out in my brain and sort out why it is. I know that what they're saying is the truth. I'm just wondering why they're telling us the truth now. I believe it's because it personally affects them. They cannot buy food. They can't not buy food, and that affects their bottom line, which decreases their power. Okay. True. However, my point is this. Scott Lincecum, author of this article, he's not deciding what's going to go into the Atlantic. The Atlantic is deciding that. And the Atlantic are a bunch of rich folk, and rich folk don't care about the price of food. So while Scott Lincecum might have a personal interest in it, because he himself may not be personally rich, he's the director of general economics and trade at the Cato Institute. So I guess maybe it's an opinion piece. But which the Washington Post thing was an opinion piece also. I told you before, they don't like her. Nobody wants to be president. She's just a body and FU to the DNC and those who control it. That's pretty deep dislike. I'm not going to kid you. It's a pretty deep dislike. All right, let's get into her interview. Let's start doing it. Let's start doing it. What happened? Everything just froze on me. Before we get into what she was asked, I will share with you this article that was what Donald Trump thinks she should have been asked, and almost certainly was not. Daily Mail put this out, which was kind of funny. When she finally sits for her first interview since becoming Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris must explain why she's flip-flopped on so many policies, why she's done nothing to secure the southern border while in power, and why she needs a human shield alongside her, according to one avid viewer of the television news, former President Donald Trump. Trump sat down with DailyMail.com in the palatial living room of his Mar-a-Lago headquarters on Wednesday. He discussed everything from the assassination attempt that almost killed him to the policies he will implement on his first day in office. But first, he laid out the questions that CNN's Dana Bash must ask the vice president in their interview. At the top of his list, what is she hiding from? Why isn't it live? It's not a live interview, he said. It's an interview that's going to be taped and then edited and then put out. So it's not even an interview. Then she's doing it with her vice president sitting there, so she's not very smart. When they ask her a question that she can't answer, she'll just look at him and say, you answer it. Trump has kept up the pressure on Harris with a steady stream of interviews to highlight how she's avoided similar encounters with the media. Meanwhile, she's enjoyed a bumper fundraising haul and reams of positive media coverage since the President Joe Biden announced he was ending his re-election campaign. All right. I think it's crazy. She's gone months without talking to the press, he said. She's not talking to anybody. She's copying, they would call flip-flopping on everything she believed in the last 20 years. She now says, well, she'll frack and, well, she'll do walls, but she doesn't mean it because she's a Marxist and she sucks. She'll say, I'll tell you whatever you want me to say. I'll tell you whatever you want me to say to vote for me. Whatever you want. What do you want me to say? What would Donald Trump say here? I'll say it. Now she wants to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on a border wall. Trump project that she once called un-American and a stupid use of money. When she was whether she was czar or just in charge of the border, she was in charge of the worst border in history. I want to know what happened. Why was she doing that? Then I want to know why she's all of a sudden now, 2 days ago, she said, no, I'd like to build a wall. After all, she was against the wall for 20 years. She fought me on the wall. She was one of the people that fought. If that was a policy she wanted, she could close the border right now, he added. They had 3.5 years to do it. They never did it. She doesn't believe in any of this stuff, which tells you from a character standpoint, it's terrible. I mean, she's so dishonest. She's so dishonest. See, so dishonest. Let's get into it. Let's do it. Let's pull it up. It's time for us to pull up the interview now. YouTube, Kamala on CNN. Back. Oh man, they got 3 parts they dropped so far. All right, let's go to part 1. Here we go. So cringe, this woman.
Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for sitting down with me. And
why'd you bring? And the first question I have for you, Kamala, why'd you bring your dad? Why'd you bring your dad here?
Bringing the bus. The bus tour is well underway.
Wheels, I love it.
Here in Georgia. You have less time to make your case to voters than any candidate in modern American.
Because if you ran an actual primary campaign, you wouldn't be sitting here and you wouldn't have ever gotten the nomination.
History. The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day 1 in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class.
Why don't you do that tomorrow? Why didn't you do that this morning? What will you do on day 1 that you can't do on August 30th? Tell us.
When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward.
New way compared to the Biden administration? What the hell are you talking about? Who's in power? I don't understand what's happening here.
In a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism.
Hope of what? You're there.
I think sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans.
That is definitely true. 100% I agree with her. Obama was terrible about making us feel crappy about ourselves. He was a disaster. So this I'm going to fact check as being true. He was Obama. I don't know. I'm surprised to hear her admit it. I'm surprised it's not the sort of thing you tend to hear. but she's spot on correct that Obama definitely did. He definitely hurt the self-esteem of Americans.
Really dividing our nation.
100%. He was the divider in chief. He was the linchpin. This is more insightful than I thought.
And I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what?
Ready to turn the page. Ready to turn the page. What's been happening for the last 3.5 years? I'm predicting, I haven't seen this yet, obviously. I haven't seen it yet. I'm predicting she never asks her, why can't you do it today? I'm predicting Dana doesn't ask her that very obvious question, which would stare even an idiot like Dana Bash in the face. This horse face looks like a stupid person, but even a very stupid person, this is the question that's staring everyone in the face. Why are you not doing this today?
Would you do day one?
What's day one? Tomorrow's day one. No, day one was a month ago. What would you do day one? The first question here tells you Dana Bash is a moron.
One, it's going to be about implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy.
What does that mean? What is that? You can call it. It's nice. It's nice that your plan has a name. What's the plan?
I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard.
Like price controls? Look at her swallow whenever she doesn't know, when she realizes I'm talking in an area here that doesn't really sound very good. Because it's time for me to filibuster. She's the worst poker face in the world. She's like so bad at poker. I don't have a pair of queens hiding under here. She's so bad. Look at her swallow like that. But what are you gonna do?
Opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost.
Bring down
of everyday goods. What we're going to
Why are you not doing it now? Why do we have to wait till next January for you to fix it?
do to invest in America's small businesses. What we're going to do to invest in families, for example, extending the child tax credit.
She looks so terrible. This is a disaster. This is a disaster. Oh, I'm gonna love this. She's already. We're a minute 44 in, and she's floundering already, with the most basic, obvious questions. And frankly, the most basic one which should have been the first question. Dana just sailed right past that because she's like, I know she ain't got an answer for that one. There's definitely no answer for that one. She can't even answer other than just platitudes. What'd you call it? America Opportunity? Why don't you just call it Opportunity Zones like Trump did? Put on the big red hat, Kamala! Put on the big red hat!
To $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life, to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now.
Her plan for that is first-time homeowners are going to get a $25,000 bump. They're going to get aid in the form of $25,000 from the government. You know what that's going to do? That's going to raise the price of houses by $30,000. That's what it's going to do. That's what it does. Yeah. Well, it's a great plan. Great plan. Such a great plan.
Now,
it's going to cost us billions of dollars to help jack up the housing industry. She's so bad.
So there are a number of things on day one.
What about you?
Well, I'm excited about this agenda too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to work.
Oh, hold on a second before we get to this clown. This weirdo. So what'd you say? Great line of question about the price gouging pushback from the MSM. It was immediate too. Shockingly immediately. This needs to be seriously investigated. I know. We know that we know they don't care about us. So why are they doing it? Why are they not supporting it? JH Schwabach. He's watching compare the Dana Bash interview with JD Vance. She's combative, arrogant, and rude to him. They need to be watched side by side. Bash is a shill. I know. She is a shill. I watched some of it last week on air, I believe. I'm pretty sure. And she is a shill. I just don't know how I would do that while also like fact checking. And I can't fact check her promises, but other than say it doesn't seem like it's legitimate because you could do all that now. Where's Chauncey Gardner when we need it? Good questions. Good questions. All right, let's hear from you. What are you going to do day one when you have the most meaningless job in the world if you ever get the most meaningless job in the world of vice president?
What can be, and I think many of these things.
Oh, unburdened by what has been. Look at is that what he said? What can be?
So there are a number of things on day one.
What about you?
Well, I'm excited about this agenda too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to what can be, and I think many of these things that the vice president's proposing are things that we share in values. And the child tax credit is one we know that reduces childhood poverty,
Which is also stolen from Trump. Idiots. 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 Oh, so in that case, vote for Trump. I'll give you the child tax credits.
At third, we did it in Minnesota to have a federal partner in this. Unbelievable, I think, in the impact that we can make.
You talked about, you call it the opportunity economy.
The opportunity. She's gonna rename her campaign "Make America Glorious Again." Make America groovy again. That's what gonna rename it. This is gonna rename it. Make America grand again. So I'm coming out with my new slogan, "Make America grand again." What a loser.
You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability.
Yeah.
One of your campaign themes
Yeah, that's completely on us. That's completely our fault.
is we're not going back.
We're not going.
But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes
Yeah, and this is part of the shilling. Let's just throw your slogan out there at the audience. We're going to leave that in here.
to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive. Housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost.
No, just stop it. Just stop it. Everyone knew those jobs were coming back. You did nothing.
People, I mean, literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump.
Yeah, he was doing the shutdowns in different states. Was he the one doing that? Or was that governors? Okay, let me explain something to you for a second. This is what she should answer. This is what her handlers should tell her to be saying. What her handlers, if they had sense, what they should be telling her to say is this. Coming out of the pandemic, price hikes were inevitable. They were going to happen. They had to happen because of the shipping and stuff like that. That's how you answer that question. That's how you talk about that. And then you say, we've been working towards bringing them down. We've had success in that regard. Now, it's a lie. It's a complete lie because their policies specifically made it much worse. They made it much worse in the sense that, well, when you're giving away tons of money, which that's the Democrats screaming, give away more money, give away more money, give away more money, give away more money. When you're tightening controls and shutting down pipelines and making energy more expensive, making it much, much worse. But you can hide your lie behind an element of truth. And she's trying to find that element of truth by basically talking about like, well, things were really bad with the economy and during the pandemic. This is a sad excuse. This is sad. It's so much. It's frustrating to see a player play the game so poorly.
Of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world.
Which policy of yours did that? Which one? Which one? So now this is you. You're the one who fixed the economy. Oh, okay. Okay. So why do you need to wait for day one?
But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it. I know it. Which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging.
It's price gouging. So stupid. So stupid. So stupid. Oh my God.
What we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years. What we need to do to bring down the cost of housing.
You're not bringing down the cost of housing if you're subsidizing by giving them money. That's not bringing down the price of housing. That's just increasing the price of housing. But you're too stupid to realize that. Why doesn't Dana Bash ask that question? It's fairly obvious. You don't need to be a rocket scientist about the economy to recognize that, hey, won't homeowners just raise the price of houses by $25,000? I mean, as a homeowner myself, I'll tell you right now, I'm kind of excited about the idea of the value of my house going up by 25 grand. That's nice. I think it's terribly disastrous for the economy. But, I was just checking out Zillow about the value of my house. I'm very happy with my house. I'm certainly not complaining at all. I don't have any kind of mansion. All those little things I shared with you when I was away on vacation, my virtual background there, where I was showing my palatial background. That's all VR. I never owned a place like that or even one like this. Certainly not that. But thank God I have a nice house. I'm not complaining. Oh, let's get rid of that. I'm tired of I'm back home. I don't need to have this stupid virtual background. Ooh, blurry. Still doesn't look right. Oh, that's better. Yeah. So she's not bringing down the price of houses. That's nothing she's doing is helping in that regard. Not at all. Wow, this pre-recorded and edit, it's still this bad. Yes. And yes, Nurse Weezer. You did fact check her. 3% inflation came. Is that 3% today, this month? What? Yeah, that's a great point. I did in fact check her, Debbie, and I promised I would. Let's fact check her on that 3%. Let's see how much is so projected annual inflation rate for 2024 according to AI overview. This is the first thing. It's 2.9%. That's the 3% that she's claiming. And yet, inflation rate for June was 3%. If it's 3% for June, how is that 3% for the 2024? I don't know what that means. According to USDA, this cannot be true. It cannot be just as low as I don't buy it. So they are saying, so this is where they're talking about lower, but to point out to you that lower inflation doesn't mean that the prices are going down. It just means they're not going up nearly as ridiculously high as they were before. And here's how they have the annual inflation rate for United States. 7% in 2021, 6.5 in 2022, 3.4 and 2.9. I want to go back and see what the hell that was. You're asking a good question there before about 2024. It was inflation rate by year shows how much prices for goods and services rise over year over year. Inflation rate responds to different phases of business cycle. So they're comparing it to what was it a year earlier. When they're doing this inflation rate, they're not saying, they're basically saying, what is it today versus what was it a year ago today? Okay. The year-over-year inflation rate is calculated by subtracting the value of the CPI at the beginning of the year from the value at the end of the year. The results then divided by the CPI value at the beginning of the year and then multiplied by 100 to get the inflation. Okay. All right. Do a quick check over here, make sure I didn't miss anything from y'all. I'm good over here. Check over here. Fan says, I put this RFK funny ad for locals after show comments. Thank you. I'm going to put that aside. Let's go weiter.
Proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration.
They can't borrow enough money for it. What are you not understanding? They can't get enough money for it.
But do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
So you have been vice president for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The steps that you're talking about now.
Okay, so if you want to try and make the claim and support her $25,000 per house, I'm going to try and steelman that argument for her because I said it's going to raise the overall price of the house, which I think is difficult to refute that as being certainly true. However, if you want to try and make the claim in her favor that it could benefit first-time homeowners, you could respond to me because I'm not trying to sell you on anything. I'm trying to analyze fairly. Let's say you're looking at a $400,000 home, which is not an expensive home by today's standards because things are crazy high. You're looking at a $400,000 home. Now, with the government's going to give you $25,000. We can anticipate that the asking price is going to go up by $25,000, if not more. So now you end up that $400,000 home ends up coming in at $425,000. You can say to me, Joe, what happens though is that $425,000 ends up being something like that ends up being $25,000 higher on the total purchase price. However, the struggle for most first-time homeowners is the down payment. So down payment which tends to be, let's say, 20% of the purchase price, or 10%, depending on how much you're borrowing. So now, if we end up giving you $25,000 and that purchase price, you can manage to finance 90% of it, which is difficult to do. But if you can manage to finance 90% of it or even 80% of it, so now the $25,000 is going to help you get to that hurdle of having a down payment. And that's true. That is true. But the question becomes, though, with interest rates being what they are, and the reason the interest rates are as high as they are is because of their policies. I mean, how the hell is anyone supposed to be able to afford to buy a house now? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense because you end up paying at 13%. You end up paying over a 30-year mortgage at 13% or 10%. So you end up paying like how many millions of dollars do you end up paying for that $400,000 home? I gotta get me a mortgage calculator here for a second. What's the total price? What is the total price of a mortgage calculator? Fact checking is hard. Property price, let's deal with $350,000. Down payment of 3%. You can get a down payment of 3%. I'm going to turn this into a 10% interest rate. What are interest rates right now? I'm sitting here trying to do homework here. Let's say I'm buying a single family home and primary residence, and I sign a purchase agreement. Oh my God, this is gonna be a long thing. First time home buyer, you're a veteran, let's say no. Are you currently working with a real estate agent? Let's say no. Purchase price of the new home, let's go with $350,000. Estimated down payment. Let's say you use their $25,000. All right, use your $25,000 for that. Are you interested in down payment after assistance? No. Next, credit profile. Let's say I have. Let's pick the average credit here. What's your work status? I'm employed. Let's say are you receiving any benefits from your employer for this move? No. I'm pretending I'm a first-time homeowner now, trying to buy in a Biden economy. Any bankruptcies? No. Your estimate's ready for review. Oh, Lord. Really? Let's do it this way. Hold on a second. I'm filling in these fields here as if I'm actually buying it. So I'm not going to actually dox myself here. Oh, jeez. I'm going through this whole lengthy thing here trying to figure out my estimate profile. Please enter a valid address. I'm going to give them a real address. Get my estimate. They're putting together an estimate for me. I'm just trying to find out what the heck a mortgage rate is. They're going to reach out to me? You suck. Oh, you see from the poll that my view is winning handily. That's good. No, it's not. You guys are all liars. You guys are all... Trump dancing is great. Got 54%. Good got 35%. Bad got 5%. And offense to humanity got 6%. You're all liars. You're all liars. I don't believe everything I know. Kamala looks tired. No sleep or hungover. Yeah, she does look tired. I can't imagine her holding up in debate. Not if she doesn't have notes. If it will increase the price of the house, does it also increase the taxes you pay on the house, screwing everyone that already has a house? Tends not to, but I don't know about that. I don't know. That probably would vary significantly from one location to another. Let me get back into her interview here. I feel like I sort of got pulled aside here by this, and I want to get back into it. It's already 12:10. I really wanted to get through this first third with you guys here.
Why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of all, we have...
Oh, look at this. Why haven't you done them already? Finally, there you go. That's an important question.
In that dream.
So you have been vice president for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought...
That doesn't answer the question. If this is all helping recovery, then why wouldn't you have done this to help get that along?
Inflation down to less than 3%. The work that we have done to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened.
She's full of crap. She's full of crap. America First policy dictated, slashed all of our drug prices with one EO that was ripped up the day that Biden took office, literally on January 20, 2021. And it said that drug companies were obliged to charge Americans and match for Americans the lowest price that they charge anywhere in the world. Insulin prices came crashing down. I mean, millions of people were saved with the stroke of his pen. And she's sitting here with her stupid freaking lie. This I'm fact checking as being 7 Pinocchios. Seven Pinocchios and 5 pants on fire.
We did it.
You
So
did
now-
nothing. You destroyed Americans.
Now, and as I travel in the state of Georgia and around our country, the number of seniors that have benefited. I was in Nevada recently, a grandmother who showed me her receipts.
Look at her swallowing all the time. She's so scared.
And before we capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, she was paying hundreds of dollars up to
Yeah, starting in 2021, January 20, 2021, because of what you did, what your boss did, Biden did.
thousands of dollars a month for her insulin. She's not doing that
So
any
you
longer.
maintain Bidenomics is a success.
I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription
That's a
medication
good question.
for the American
That's not answering the question.
people, including capping the cost of the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000. When we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend the child tax credit so that we cut child poverty in America by over 50%.
This is also, I want to see what that's, I got to check that out. This is going to give me the best possible, the most Kamala-esque resource for this. Could cut child poverty. So, child poverty is a persistent national issue with lifetime intergenerational consequences. Incidence of the distribution of its incidence and its impacts vary. The 2021 expansion of the child tax credit led to historic reduction in the poverty of the United States. What does that mean, expansion? Research showed that child poverty fell immediately and substantially on an annual basis. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, child poverty fell to its lowest level in record in 2021, 5.2%. Moreover, that's not 50%. More, I guess 50% of what it was. So if it was 10.4, so it cut it down to 5.2. Is that what your claim is? The dramatic reduction in poverty induced by the expanded CTC income support enhances children's lifetime. Problem is, I want to know exactly. I need this is something which I'm positive is crap. I'm positive this is crap, but I don't know enough about it to identify exactly where they're misleading us. I cannot believe for a second that the child tax credit they gave help people out in this economy. I don't buy it for a second. But I want to see exactly what they're talking about. 2021 expansion of the child tax credit led to historic poverty. What was this expansion of child tax credit? We compute a household's poverty rate, including all taxes and transfers, but excluding the child tax credit. We then compute a household's poverty rate, including it. Finally, we isolate the 2021's. Okay. Okay. Turn the impacts of the child tax credit, we find that the expanded credit yielded qualitatively large child poverty reductions across all state groups. The smallest child poverty reduction across groups is still 40% in the high-cost, low-poverty states, which is a remarkable reduction. But the magnitude of the child poverty reduction, in relative terms at least, was indeed higher in low-cost states. So states where the cost of living is lower, so if you give them a child tax credit or extend a child tax credit, that's going to be more significant impact. That makes sense. This finding suggests that a high cost of living could be an important driver of child poverty. High cost states might want to be considered state level credits, especially. Okay. I don't understand how this. So it's not 51% rate. Okay. So to explain to you what it is that I'm seeing so far from looking at this claim of hers about how they reduce child poverty. So child poverty is an amorphous term that you set a number at. You're saying this is where we're saying at this level you're considered poverty, and this level and $1 more you're not in poverty, $1 less you are in poverty. So we're saying that if you give these people extra money, so now they're not considered to be in poverty anymore, which is not really a logical way to assess poverty, because poverty is not how many dollars you have in your bank account. Poverty is how much spending power you have. So this is where I knew that there's, and this is just the start of my analysis here. I need to break this down further. But that's going to take some research on my part. But I'll tell you right now, what they basically saying is we threw money in the pockets of poor people, and now they're not labeled by the yardsticks that we created to be in poverty, or fewer of them are considered to be in poverty. That's not making anyone's lives better just because you give them more dollars, especially when you're helping jack up the cost of living. Because you have to look at the spending power as to what people have. And I'm positive that that's definitely not what's being looked at here, because what they're saying is we're looking at how much money these families have. I just want to look at what this child tax credit was. Let's look at that real quick. Lifting an estimated 2.9 million children out of poverty, reducing food hardship, decreasing parent financial stress, and more. So it's not even around anymore. Oh, so this was what happened for the 1 year that they had it. Oh, so basically what this is saying is in 2021, when we gave everyone a lot of money, fewer people were in poverty. Great. That's right. That's great. You're going to keep giving people money every year. That's what she's saying. That's what you're boasting about in 2021 when we broke the bank, giving everyone money under pandemic relief, that people had more money. Okay.
When we do what we have done to invest in the American people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States, so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business.
What does that mean? When did you create 800,000 new manufacturing jobs? What does that even mean? What is that even talking about? What is she talking about? I don't think it's Hunter candy usage. I think she's terrified. I think that's what it shows. It shows utter fear. I answered great on the poll, not because Trump's dancing is great, because it's great to see Trump dancing. Maybe that was the problem. As diabetic, I pay $35 per pin, not per month, and use more than 3 per month due to 2 different types of insulin. Oh, I didn't know that. I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you, ISH.
Back to America. What we have done to improve the supply chain, so we're not relying on foreign governments to supply American families with their basic needs. I'll say that that's good work. There's more to do, but that.
Why don't you do tomorrow, day one? Well, everything you're promising for day one. Why won't you?
That's good work.
I want to get some clarity on where you stand on some key policy issues. Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will.
She made that clear on the debate stage in 2020.
Sports, culture, and comedy? Sounds like Ricky Cobb.
Maybe just from a size perspective, I would give him a problem.
The Ricky Cobb Show, daily on
My
OutKick.
God, they're so terrible. CNN host Dana Bash asked Harris about her 2019 remarks, sparking Harris to respond that she was clear on fracking during her run at Biden, as Biden's vice presidential pick. In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024. I've not changed that position. Let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it's important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis. She was asked about fracking during 2020 vice presidential debate against then Vice President Mike Pence, but did not reveal her position on fracking, instead saying Biden would not ban fracking. She said Biden wouldn't ban it. So that's not saying her position at all.
Not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, in a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So
nice. Well done, Dana. That's surprising. So why did you just lie to me 10 seconds ago?
yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position nor.
Oh, you're such a liar. Oh my God.
Why going forward. I kept my word and I will keep my word.
Flap, flip,
What
flap,
made you
flip,
change that
flap.
position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate.
Unburdened.
And to do that, we
Unburdened by the weather that we had yesterday.
can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs.
That's not true. That I'm sure is not true. Do I need to do it? What, over the next 10 years?
That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, excuse me, I cast the tie-breaking vote that actually
Yeah, she's going to regret that tie-breaking vote.
increased leases for fracking
Yeah.
as vice president. So I'm very clear about where I stand.
And was there some policy or scientific data that you saw that you said, oh, okay, I get.
He says, I'm trying to throw you a lifeline. Here's a lifeline for you. Just say you saw something, because you clearly keep flip-flopping on this issue. Here's the lifeline. Do I need to spell it out for you? I saw a study that informed me and made me smarter, and say, that's why I now love fracking. I love it. That's what Dana's doing here. She's like, I'm trying to help you. I'm on your side. Don't you see the team Kamala Penn here that's off camera? Can't you see it? Can't you see? I'm trying to help you. Just listen to the way I'm wording the question.
Get it now.
What I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
Oh, Jesus. What a disaster this woman is. What an utter disaster. All right. That is the first third of Kamala's interview. There's 2/3 more and way more fun. I'm going to be wrapping that up on locals nearby. It's at Good Lawgic, goodlogic.locals.com. lawgicpodcast.com. I'm spelling it out in ways that even Kamala Harris might understand. Okay? Not for you. You're intelligent. It's the other people watching who are not quite as smart. The link is in the description below. It's also pinned in the chat that you can find it there and just click. You have to double click, right? It's like a discount double check kind of click. You can click the link, and I'm going to be there in a few minutes. That's on goodlogic.locals.com. And that's my show here. It's whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're watching on Rumble, you can find that link to Locals, where I'm going to be finishing up the last 2/3 of this interview. I thank you all for joining me. This has been a very exciting and fun week. I miss being home. I like being home. It's good here. I feel like I do a different level show here. I like it better here. Space. I got my little background here. Just feels right. It feels right. Anyway, that's our show. I thank you all for joining me. I will be back, God willing, Sunday night. Those of you who join Fantasy Football League, those of you who join me in the Fantasy Football League, I'm telling you now, start sending your money in. There's a PayPal link below. You can send in Venmo. Just tell me your name. I'll hit you up. If you signed up, you signed up. If I listed you on that list of dates, but it's going to be on Tuesday. The draft is going to be on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Tuesday, 7 p.m. That's my final say on that. That's what I have to do in order to ensure that we have enough folks. So hit me up, send that money over PayPal. And if you still want to get in, I probably can squeeze you in. Probably. That's pinned in Locals. The main takeaway from this whole show, what this whole show has been leading up to, is to tell you really two things. Number one, never eat lab meat. That's even if it's on a Big Mac that was prepared by Kamala Harris. And certainly do not eat the bugs. Don't eat the bugs. I'm going to catch you all in Locals in a couple minutes. Till then, good night. Godspeed. Shut down, Joe. Joe, shut down. You didn't answer the show. You didn't end the show, Joe. Joe, you didn't end the show. End the show.